Bonjour Penguins and welcome to Pat Panks Cast, the show that dives you into the world as I see it. I'm Patrick, your host, and today we're diving into the magic of Paris in film and television, where the City of Light isn't just a backdrop but a star on its own. From iconic rom-coms like Amélie to the glamorous streets of Emily in Paris, get ready to take a closer look at how directors, producers, and actors captured the charm, mystery, and beauty of the city. Stay tuned. Bonjour, and welcome to Pat Panks Cast, episode 17. Pardon my cinema, or as in French we say, arrête de faire ton cinéma. C'est ça, that's what you said, Elias. It was a great idea. And today we celebrate Louis' comeback to the podcast.
Welcome back to me.
Hi. And my childhood friend, Elias, and cinephile or cinema lover. Hello, welcome to
Hi,
Paris.
Patrick. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure. And the specialty of today is that we're recording this episode live from the Place de l'Estrapade, which is the square of the Estrapade, as you see behind us. It's where Emily Cooper lives, from Emily in Paris. So we're very, very happy to record this episode right here.
And just, Patrick, just
yes.
to say maybe for our listeners, we're just a stone's throw away from Panthéon.
Exactly.
And very close to Saint-Germain, which is a very beautiful area. So just so that people know exactly where it is, and it's the 5th arrondissement.
Exactly. It's the 5th arrondissement, a very beautiful arrondissement. It's on the left bank of the Seine River. And it's mainly residential in the area where we are. And that's why actually it was ideal to record the TV show Emily in Paris. So today, as you know, as the title says, it's time to talk movies and TV shows in the City of Light, where actually Paris is the absolute star and not just a secondary role. And we will be talking about classic Parisian scenes. We will be talking about other kind of movies, classic romance, modern TV hits like Emily in Paris, obviously, but also some others. And also we can talk about some animations, Paris and animation, like animated movies. So all of this is in the program, and let's just start by classic Parisian scenes with Elias.
Yes, thanks, Patrick. Actually, the most interesting thing is that nowadays everybody thinks about Emily in Paris and modern contemporary cinema, but there's so many films that were filmed here back in the 1950s and 60s. And I wanted to start the selection with An American in Paris, which is a very, very major American film from early 1950s with Gene Kelly, a huge major dancer who did a lot of musicals and who co-starred with Leslie Caron, who's also a French actress who in Hollywood gave a lot of, American films this Parisian, je ne sais quoi. Music by Gershwin, very, very famous American composer who wrote some of the landmarks of modern American classical music. But also, there are so many films with Audrey Hepburn, because Audrey Hepburn, for example, did shoot, I think, from international actresses. She's one of the few actresses who shot so many films in Paris. So many. So, for example, there's Funny Face that was shot here. So Paris is in the backdrop. So anybody who's interested in watching a classic film showing Paris in the 50s, please watch Funny Face. Funny Face also makes fun of existentialists and philosophers, because, at the time, everybody was thinking, there was Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir and all the literary figures of Saint-Germain. And there's even a specific scene which actually makes fun of that in a very humorous way. But there are so many other films I would like to recommend. I'm not going to go in detail, but, if you're interested, there's Charade, a very beautiful film with Cary Grant. There's Paris When It Sizzles, How to Steal a Million. There's also Love in the Afternoon, which is a very nice film taking place in Place Vendôme, in the Ritz.
Most of them in the 50s and in the 60s.
Most of them 50s and 60s. Yes, most of them 50s and 60s. So please look them up. I mean, these are classic films. Also, I'm not going to go in detail into all of them. I think we have so many other things to discuss.
Yep.
But if you're interested also in some French films, there's a very beautiful film with Catherine Deneuve, who's like the French icon when you think of French cinema abroad. Exactly. She was even, I think, voted in the 80s by Life magazine. She was voted as the most beautiful woman. I don't believe in these superlatives, but she was voted the most beautiful woman in the world.
The most beautiful woman in the world, or actress in the world?
No, the most beautiful woman in the world.
Okay.
And she played in a film here, which
but
was called...
that's a real like election, or what is it about? No, just like
no, don't. That was in the 80s. It wasn't as politically correct as it is now.
People were crazy in the 80s.
Yeah, they just said, Patrick is the funniest man alive.
Okay.
They just put it on the...
They like to give titles like that.
Yeah.
Offer titles.
But she was very beautiful, but you cannot trust superlatives because it might be a very beautiful woman, but some people don't like blondes. So, voilà. So there's a film called Belle de Jour, which is also shot in the 60s, which takes place in Paris and captures a bit of that Parisian essence. And finally, one last recommendation to our listeners is Cléo de 5 à 7, Cleo from 5 to 7. It's one of the films that actually is a precursor to the French New Wave. The camera follows the main character, from street to street for about an hour and a half, and you get an occasion to see Paris from the 1960s in black and white. So that's one final recommendation of mine.
Oh, wow. Okay, great. Well, thank you for all these insights. So these are more of like classical Parisian scenes in the movies. What about some romances? I know that there's a very important and very known, by the way, movie called Amélie in the 2000s, I guess.
Yes, I think it was 2000 actually. And Amélie is in French is Le Fabuleux Destin d'Amélie Poulain.
So in English, it just translated to Amélie.
Yeah. Yep. Amélie has become even very well known because of its music. Yann Tiersen is a French composer, and the music has become, actually the music is as famous, if not more famous than the film itself. You hear it everywhere. Every time they want to talk about France and Paris and Montmartre, they put the music of Amélie Poulain. It's a very quirky film. It's very fun. It's very original. And it also takes place mostly in Montmartre, which is, Patrick, you have to help me. Is it the 18th arrondissement?
It's the 18th. Wow. For somebody that is not from Paris, actually,
so you see that even visitors have a bit of knowledge.
And then, which brings us as well to a movie called Midnight in Paris. It was done in the 2011. Louis, you wanted to talk about it?
Yes. So Midnight in Paris is actually one of my favorite movies that were filmed in Paris, because it shows you a romanticized Paris seen with the point of view of the Americans. So usually the Americans, they like the beautiful Paris of the Belle Epoque, and they want to show you like the postcard Paris. So in this movie, actually, you can see that the family that comes to Paris, they are staying at the Plaza Athénée, which is actually one of my favorite hotels in Paris. It's like a palace. It's so pretty. So I advise you to go there. And as well, they filmed on Ile Saint-Louis, which we talked about in a previous episode with Patrick. So they filmed also on this beautiful bridge, one of the most beautiful bridges in Paris, which is called Le Pont Alexandre III. If you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, the love of your life, and you want like to impress him or her or them, then I really strongly advise you to watch this movie, and then right after it, like bring them to all the locations that you've seen in the movie, because you will mark points with
great.
the love of your life.
Yeah. And yeah,
so romantic advice from Louis.
Thank you, Louis.
I know.
So it's not only with Patrick, it's not only cinema, it's also love life.
Yeah. And to finish with the movies, there's also something, obviously the movie called The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which in French translates to Le Bossu de Notre Dame. The name of the landmark is in the name of the movie, Notre Dame, so definitely, which has actually burnt in 2019. You probably all know about it, but the good news is that it has been renovated and is going to reopen to the public by the end of 2024. So that's good news for all of you guys who are planning on coming to visit Paris at the end of the year or next year in 2025. We cannot talk about Paris in the movies without talking about Moulin Rouge, even though it wasn't filmed in Paris. But yeah, Louis?
Yeah, so this movie was not filmed in Paris. It was filmed in a studio, of course, in the US, but it's so beautiful. Like, this is actually my favorite movie that takes place in Paris. It's just so strong, such a strong movie. You feel like you are actually watching a musical taking place. You see the way that the Moulin Rouge was back then, so in the early 1900s, even late 1800s. It was different than now, because now it's like a sitting cabaret, so where you see it, you sip your champagne, you have dinner, and you watch the ladies and men dancing in front of you, cabaret style. But back then it was more like an open air and inside club, where everybody would come, party, dance, meet people. So it was like a different vibe. What is also interesting about this movie is that it shows you this huge elephant that was in the courtyard of the Moulin Rouge. So it does not exist anymore. It is a piece of art, you know. So I strongly recommend you to watch this movie also for the history of Paris back then, because you get to meet all these historical figures from back then, as Toulouse-Lautrec, of course, and also the founders of the Moulin Rouge. It's very interesting. And of course, like characters that never existed, such as Nicole Kidman's character, Satine, which bedroom is in the elephant, by the way, because she's the star of the Moulin Rouge, you know. And Ewan McGregor's character, which is an American who comes to Paris.
It's a very nice movie.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful, very
we
moving.
recommend it, and it's as you were saying, Elias, earlier. It's actually
Oh yeah, the Moulin Rouge is also very famous because of the French cancan, which is and they even put it in the Olympics, of course, the Olympics
in the opening ceremony.
So it's one of the immaterial heritage of France, well, more specifically Paris. And
a couple of other movies also where Paris is featured is Devil Wears Prada. There's also a sequence with the Paris Fashion Show.
Paris Fashion Week.
And Taken. Well, it's not Taken. Also is in Paris, but it's not a good publicity. But
but it's an action film.
But it's an action film. So that concludes actually what we wanted to say about movies. Let's move to the TV shows, and we cannot talk about the TV shows without talking about Emily in Paris. As you can see in the background, we have tourists here visiting the Place de l'Estrapade, which Emily Cooper lived or lives still because the show is still ongoing. And what we're going to do is we're going to flip 180 degrees and we're going to record the rest of the episode on the other side, because on the other side we have L'Esprit de Gigi, which is the restaurant where Chef Gabriel is actually working, or he owns it now. So yeah, stay tuned. We're going to be on the other side in just a moment.
So as Patrick is finalizing his last touches, I'm taking over the show. Hi everyone.
No, you're not taking over. Okay, so you guys, as you can see in the background, the restaurant that is in red is L'Esprit de Gigi, which is in the current real life. It's called Terra Nera, which is an Italian restaurant, by the way. It's not even French. So yeah, it's here in the background, and we're going to talk about Emily in Paris, the favorite show of Louis, right?
It's not my favorite TV series, but it's nice to watch, you know, because you get to recognize many places that you know. Funny to see it like in an American TV show, which, by the way, is produced by MTV. I know that for many Americans and tourists, it's like a guide, you know, for the restaurants, for the bars, for the locations, the landmarks you would like to visit, you know. It's a very nice TV series. Of course, it's funny.
It's also not really realistic. I mean, Patrick did a whole episode on Pardon My Expectations, where specifically some people really think that, you know, it's depicted as in the series, but of course
it's not completely it's not completely unreal. But that's why Parisians still are attached to the TV show. I mean, a lot of Parisians love the TV show, but it's obviously not 100% reality, because Emily in Paris never takes the metro. She always wears
very eccentric outfits.
Very eccentric outfits, like designer clothes.
Nobody could actually afford on her salary.
And they made a calculation, by the way. Her salary is supposed to be, if she's living really the way she's living in Paris, her salary must be around 15,000 euros per month. So, which is
not that much.
Which is not the salary of a marketing manager. Okay, they do have nice salaries, but it's going to be around 3,500, 400, let's say around 4,000 to 5,000 euros per month, but not 15,000.
Yeah, so reality check to
reality check for
out there thinking that they're going to come and have an Emily in Paris life.
Do not come and think that you're going to have an Emily in Paris life with just having a job as a marketing senior manager and be able to live the same way Emily in Paris lives. No. But you'll be able to enjoy the city, obviously. I mean, what they're showing in the city is part of the city. I mean, they're not creating the city from scratch. A big part of the show is still reality, but I mean, they exaggerate on some points.
Yeah, totally. On many points.
We're in the fourth season. I haven't finished the fourth season yet, but it's ongoing. I really love it. I mean, they're planning on having a fifth one as well, but apparently the fifth one is going to be in Rome.
Boo!
Boo!
Oh no, so it will be Emily in Rome.
But I don't know. They're not going to change the name.
What a sacrilege, really.
But definitely what is for sure is that the show is loved by the Parisians, and it's actually showcasing a lot of nice areas, and not necessarily only touristic areas. I mean, she wanders around the city in places where we actually as Parisians recognize, because places that we go to, not necessarily touristic places all the time. Like obviously we've seen Notre Dame de Paris, which she called Notre Dame, by the way, and with the Midwest accent. They also showed they also showed obviously Sacré-Cœur, Montmartre when she was taking selfies, Eiffel Tower, she's been there several times, but it's not that every single episode we're gonna see a touristic landmark. No, she's mainly in residential local areas, which actually Parisians like about the show.
Now.
And this is where we are now. It's not touristic at all. I mean, we have the Panthéon.
She's made them touristic, by the way, because if you could see just behind the camera where Patrick has set up the camera, if you can see on the other side, it's just full of tourists coming to just take pictures. So
in front of the restaurant and in front of
the restaurant, in front of the place. Yeah. So I think the residents around here have become quite annoyed
I agree.
With this.
Yes.
At the same time, it has brought up their property value.
Yeah.
So they must be quite happy.
Well, Parisians like to complain a lot all the time. But I can understand that if you live in front of this apartment building and you have tourists the whole day coming and taking pictures while you're showering, it's probably not the best idea. But yeah, I mean, it has brought value to the neighborhood for sure.
Also, if you're interested in how the series was filmed, there is a video on YouTube where Lily Collins, which obviously plays Emily Cooper, shows you like the studio. So for all the interiors of the main sets of the series. So like for instance, obviously like the Chambre de Bonne. So this little, not very little apartment where she lives. So which is supposed to be like at the top of the building that you just saw, like where we were, like on the other side. The interior of it is like in a studio. So
obviously, yeah, because it's not really. I don't think that the apartments over there.
Yeah, I don't. Sorry,
I don't think they're that big. Yeah.
No, but I don't think you could even film the Chambre de Bonne. Chambre de Bonne is like, just to say for our listeners, is like a maid's room.
So it's like 9 square meters or 10 square meters.
9 square meters on the 6th floor without an elevator, and it's very, very, very basic.
I don't think.
I don't think that's where Emily lives, and I don't even think the camera crew could fit in just to shoot like a scene.
I agree. Not even an equipment would actually go up the stairs like that, for sure. Like the filming equipment. So, yeah, but still, it's showcased a lot of, Parisian places, and it brought a lot of publicity. By the way, every single time a season goes up on Netflix, there's a surge of Google researches for real estate in Paris coming from the United States.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, they made that study.
Oh, wow.
So it's crazy.
So it's our American friends bringing the property prices up.
Thank you, America. And you've been 23% now from my audience, so thank you for listening.
Yes.
So yeah, definitely it's something that is giving a lot of good publicity to the city, and sometimes we even think that probably the city is paying for the show because it's really like free publicity.
Yes.
But I don't think they are.
Actually, the mayor of Paris, like
Hidalgo?
Yes, she met Lily Collins and she thanked her because
well, she has to.
She said that
she's compensating for
a
all
lot
the
of publicity for the city.
Yeah, well, she thanked Lily Collins, but Lily Collins is just the actress. I mean, she should thank all the people that thought.
She should thank MTV.
Yeah,
she's like, thank you so much.
She should thank Louis.
Yeah,
thank you so much for compensating the bad stuff and Hidalgo is doing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And also, I wanted to add, like one of the main locations of the TV show is the Agence Grato.
Yeah, which is not too far, I guess, also, right?
Yeah, so this is a really nice little plaza, like right by the Palais Royal, actually, and it's very pretty.
What's it called?
It's very. I don't remember the name. I'm sorry.
But
you're gonna have to look
Palais
it up.
Royal. Okay.
But it's a very beautiful.
I thought it was Saint-Germain.
No. It's a very beautiful place, by the way. It's really a very beautiful square.
And so you have like the restaurant where they hang out. Sometimes, like
just next to the Agence Grato.
Yes, so this is there. So if you want to have I actually had a drink there. So if you want to hang out there, like feel like you are in the TV series, obviously you should go there. You should come to the Place de l'Estrapade, of course.
Where we are having lunch just in a few
minutes.
We're having lunch
at
l'Esprit.
We are having lunch in l'Esprit de Gigi.
Yeah. Yes. Which is the spirit of Gigi, because it's an Italian.
Spirit of Gigi.
We will not see Gabriel. We will maybe see Marcello.
Marcello now.
Yeah.
Is this a
maybe
new character?
Yeah, well,
Yes.
Sorry, I'm completely
Season
out of
4.
touch.
this
Season
is the
4.
latest love
Okay.
of Emily.
Oh, what happened to the British guy?
Oh my god,
Bye-bye.
he went back to the
Bye-bye.
UK.
No.
Bye-bye.
He met another
Oh,
He
person.
took back
no.
the Eurostar back home, you know, like.
Well, they said in season 4 that he started liking Paris, actually, because in the
Yes.
first seasons he didn't really like Paris, and he was like the one who's pushing back Emily on, oh wow, Paris, beautiful, beautiful. But in season 4, he said that he actually started liking the city. So.
Yes, and I have something to add as well. Is that something that you shouldn't believe about the show? Is that it's very rare that you get to run into. Bitch. It's very rare that you get to run into people on the streets that you know. Like for instance, Emily, she gets back, I don't know, from a trip, like where she was in Megève, I guess, and it's very funny because she gets to like the Saint-Sulpice church on the, like in front of the church, and she runs into like. By pure luck, she runs into her last boyfriend, the English guy,
Yeah, Alfie.
which does never happen in real life.
Well,
Well, actually, no, that's not true. Actually, I have bumped into people
No,
in
but
Paris
she
that
bumps
I know.
into people like all the time.
okay.
Like
It doesn't
all
make sense. It's not possible because it's a big city. And another one, which is even crazier, is like when she's up the slopes, like in
Yeah,
Megève,
she meets Marcello.
she meets
And then
Marcello.
at some point she's back to Paris and she's like in a horse riding competition.
Yes, with her
and she
best-
meets Marcello. Like what are the odds?
Because Marcello is the best friend of her best friend's boyfriend.
Yeah,
Which
no,
in the end
it is a big city. You don't just meet people like
It's not a
that every
village,
single
huh?
time you go out of your apartment. You meet your friends. No,
Yes.
I mean no, but
It does not
but
happen.
for the purpose of the storytelling, I mean it makes sense. Okay,
Yes.
we're done about Emily in Paris. What about Daryl Dixon, Louis?
Yeah, so Daryl Dixon is it's a very recent TV series, so it's like a spin-off of The Walking Dead. So actually, like, I didn't like much The Walking Dead, but I watched Daryl Dixon because it was filmed in Paris, and it's one of the only few like zombie apocalypse TV series filmed in Paris, so it was kind of interesting to see where they filmed it. So they actually filmed like by the Ile Saint-Louis. They filmed as well like in a restaurant, like in a club, and they filmed to so many places of Paris, so you can recognize them. They also filmed at the Eiffel Tower, but the Eiffel Tower, I guess it's like cut off, and there are like so many different places that you can recognize from real life that are there, but like apocalyptic style, so that's
Yep.
the one I recommend. Even
Yeah.
if you have never watched like the Walking Dead,
It's
like
a horror or is it a thriller?
no, it's like a drama slash
Action.
not really much action, but drama slash like suspense,
Okay.
like
but not
adventure.
horror. Okay.
Adventure. It's mostly like adventure.
Okay, good
like
to
I would
know.
say. It's
Okay.
very nice,
Yep.
because
Yep.
you get to see Paris in apocalypse style,
Exactly.
Ah.
the American way.
Exactly.
Wow.
Well,
Nice.
also in other modern TV shows, not very modern because it's starting to be a bit old, but Paris has been featured a lot also in the Gossip Girl TV show because there it talks about some very wealthy Manhattan teenagers that became adults also with the bitch. that became adults in the series, and Blair, one of the
Character.
The Blair Witch
main
Project.
character.
She used to play in the Blair Witch Project.
Which I love Blair, by the way. Blair, every single time she felt like she needed a vacation, she would have just travel to Paris and spend some time with Serena in Paris, and then they would like show a lot of nice sceneries in the city.
And Patrick, I'm just reminded, I don't know if anybody's seen Modern Family, because there's an episode, I think, or a few episodes that were shot here, and actually they make fun, yes, and they make fun of Parisians because they see him and they immediately start speaking to him in English, assuming he's American, and suddenly he starts just doing ha 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 ha, and everybody thinks he's Parisian then. So actually they do make fun. It's actually derogatory. Anybody out there who hasn't seen that, Modern Family, a few episodes shot in Paris.
Last but not least, the TV show You, which is also very modern because the last season has just finished. They've also
Are you talking about me?
You.
Yes, me.
No, the You.
No.
There's a show
Me,
called
I
You.
know. It's about me.
Oh God.
So you guys, as you can see, Louis is missing because we have a
Went to get our
reservation
reservation.
at 12:15, and he went to get our reservation in L'Esprit de Gigi. Last but not least, in our episode, we're going to talk about some animated movies because it's very important as well to talk about other kinds of
Cinema.
and
Which, by the way, are now recognized. If people didn't know, before there was an Oscar for animated films. Actually, they started doing Oscars for animated films as of the early 1990s, because Beauty and the Beast, one of the most beautiful animated films done by Disney, was actually nominated for the Oscar of Best Film in 1993 or 1992, and because of that,
it brought everything up, like
it brought the animated
into
genre
light,
to a higher level, and then they started doing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
that's a really good thing. So we cannot talk about animated movies happening in Paris without talking about two main ones. Ratatouille in 2007 is an animated movie by Pixar, and the idea is that there's a rat. Shout out to Teresa, because in the Pardon My Expectations episode, she was talking about having rats in Paris. So Remy is one of them. He's a rat, and his dream was to be a chef, just like our friend Gabrielle here. And the idea of the movie is that there's this Remy that wants to follow his dreams and have a restaurant in Paris. So the film highlights themes of passion, creativity, and the magic of French cuisine, because it's showcasing a lot of the French cuisine, and the beauty also of following
your dream and
one's
heart,
dream, no matter what. So and in the movie they obviously show a lot of the Parisian rooftops with the beautiful sceneries of Paris. They show the River Seine several times, and the Eiffel Tower is prominently visible throughout the episode as well. So it's really gives that feeling that you're in the middle of Paris. So definitely recommend that. One other recommendation is Les Aristochats.
The Aristocats in English.
Is the Aristocats. It's
1970.
a bit old. 1970, it's a bit older. And the idea is that there is, this cat called Duchesse. She's a very wealthy cat, and she has three kittens, and she lives with her master
in a very, very beautiful Parisian neighborhood.
Madame Adélaïde, living in a very beautiful mansion in the very luxurious districts of Paris. So the butler, Edgar, kidnaps the kittens, and then even Duchesse, the cat, and they kidnaps them to the countryside. And the idea of the movie is the journey of the cats going back from the countryside to Paris. So it's really cute, and it shows also a lot of the Parisian scenery.
Yeah, and it's one of the major animated. I think it's one of the famous classical animated Disney.
Exactly. A lot of music, a lot of humor. And a lot of
everybody wants to be a cat. No,
exactly.
Not everybody. I don't want to be a cat. Patrick, maybe
you don't want to live the wealthy life of
I
Duchesse?
do actually want to be in a Haussmannian building and be kept. So so perhaps maybe that's a good idea.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't mind being a wealthy cat living in. So since the cat is wealthy and Madame Adélaïde is extremely wealthy, in the movie we see a lot of the very luxurious Parisian mansions. So we see these kind of districts showcased a lot.
Is it the 16e? I mean, I would think 16e is like
say it's
the 16th arrondissement is like a very beautiful residential Paris area.
I would definitely say that somewhere around the 16th district. We also see a lot of the Parisian rooftops, just like Ratatouille, and a lot of the River Seine. There you go. I think that concludes.
Yes, and we have a little dog coming to visit us.
Hi,
Maybe
dog.
you're seeing him on camera.
And we have the jingle. Oh no, not this one. There you go.
Voila. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And we look forward to seeing you soon, Stéphanie. I'm concluding.
You're the host now.
And I'm concluding.
Do you want to conclude?
Oh, yes, I would love to conclude. Hold on. So Patrick has given me this opportunity. It's once in a lifetime. So let me do this. That's a wrap for today's little chat. Thank you so much, Patrick and Louis, for being here. Great insights as usual. And thank you, Penguis, for listening. Now go watch one of those Parisian classics that I've recommended earlier, or some of the films that Patrick and Louis have talked about. But of course, go for the classic. Of course, of course, go for the classics. Or maybe even book a trip if you're actually, entertaining the idea of coming to Paris to see the Parisian magic in real life.
In real life. You're doing great.
Am I?
There you go. You can be a host.
This was supposed to be Patrick's line. I'm so sorry. I've taken over.
He can be a co-host.
But I am a visitor, so and Patrick is Parisian, but he's also keeping with the Lebanese hospitality. So, voilà.
Definitely. So, until you book that trip to Paris, keep watching and keep in mind that you can listen to my podcast on all the platforms, and you can subscribe as well to Anghami, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube and Deezer as well. And you can find all the information on my website, patricksayek.com/patbankscast.
And click the bell icon.
And click the bell icon
and keep your comments
and
put our likes.
He comments on Spotify.
Let me tell you, Patrick is an extreme professional with all his gear, his audiovisual gear. I mean, I am quite impressed what we have done, and we've been able to keep it with all the tourists around us. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you for this feedback. And if you have also some feedback, do not hesitate to let me know, whether it's on this episode or on the podcast in general. If you have anything on your own experience on Paris, also please let me know. It will be a pleasure to read your comments. See you next month, Pengies.